Good evening, and welcome to What About Bob, the weekly Notre Dame talk show featuring Notre Dame's defensive coordinator, Bob Diaco. Welcome, Bob. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me. Well, I thought we'd start off today by taking a look back at the Navy game. Okay, sure. Now, this was not a pretty game, to say the least. Navy put up 35 points and over 350 rushing yards while seemingly crushing the spirit of Notre Dame. Bob, if you had to describe this game in 2 words, what would those be? Well, I'm not sure. I don't think something like this can be summed up in just a couple of words. Okay, well, let's just say I gave you 2 choices. Let's say, between complete hopelessness and utter humiliation. Between those two, which one would you pick? Well, okay then. I'll go with, Let's see. I'll go with complete hopelessness as my answer. Sorry. The answer we were looking for was utter humiliation. Anyway, Bob, I was hoping that you could walk us through what was going on down on the field during the game. The things you were seeing. Okay, so here's Navy, up 7-3, and they're in a 2nd and goal from the 3. Bob, can you take us through this? Sure. Now, the first thing I generally do is to identify the offense. In this case, I looked and made a quick mental note. Once I recognize the offense, I then identify the quarterback. This is the player that they snap the ball to. I told my team this. I said, hey, watch that guy. So, in fairness to myself, I did say that. I said, hey, watch that guy. Now there's a lot of information coming in very quickly. A lot to digest. I have to make a lot of quick calculations on the fly. And this is all happening in real time. Bob, if I may say so, it seemed that your defense just wasn't prepared for what Navy brought to the Meadowlands on Saturday. I don't think that's accurate. For example, in this case, I made the right call. As I said, I identified to my defense that Navy would be snapping the ball to the quarterback. I put them in what I call an 11 guys on defense. The problem is that 90% of the time in practice, we run a 20-man triple blitz package. So yeah, having to go with an 11-man defense was definitely a curveball for me. In retrospect, would I have done things differently? Sure, yeah. But that's easy to say now. But you've also been questioned for a failure to adapt. Again, we had a great week of practice. We had some surprises ready for Navy. And then we show up at the game and the referees are all like, hey, you can't do that. So yeah, another time where the 90%, 10% thing in practice really came back to bite us. Bob, I have to ask this. Did you watch a lot of film in preparation for Navy? People have commented that you seemed caught by surprise at what Navy did. That's a good question. A very legitimate question. And the answer is yes, I did. The issue is that 10% of the time, I was watching film of Navy's offense against Wake Forest and SMU. The other 90% of the time was pretty much romantic comedies. In fairness, had Navy presented a situation to us where, let's just say for example, one of their guys on offense was dating a girl, and one of our guys on defense had a secret crush on the same girl, but didn't know how to tell her this. Well, I totally had them prepared for how to handle that situation. Well, I see where Skippy the clinically depressed college football clown is coming to tell us that our time is up. I think that about does it for today. Join us next week when we'll talk again with Bob Diaco about all things Notre Dame football on What About Bob. Check local listings for times.